Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. I hope you're enjoying a lot of the content we're putting out. If so, please make sure you're liking the videos, you're subscribing to our page so you get up notifications when we put new videos out. You know, everything we put out, a lot of the videos that we do come from, you know, feedback we get from clients, from customers. We figured, you know, other people are probably gonna have these questions. We should do a video about it. And, you know, one of the ones that we get asked a lot is hiring a virtual assistant a cybersecurity risk, right? Because you're trusting a lot of your business in the hands of an individual who's 9,000 miles away in another country. So a lot of people do ask, you know, what is the level of risk? And really, that risk goes for any employee. I mean, because you could have an in-house employee that you hire that just is likely to be able to steal information. So it's really not necessarily just about the VA. Really, any staff member that could potentially be a risk to your business. So that's why a lot of it comes down to hiring the right people, going through the right vetting process. So we're going to kind of dive into that here in this video. The real estate agent, you know, again, we place VAs through a number of businesses across the board. But real estate obviously is a big one. One, because we do have a real estate business. So we do have a lot of contacts in the real estate world. So, you know, when we're talking real estate, you know, it's like any other industry. It's vulnerable to cybersecurity risks. You know, the best way for those involved in the industry to stay on top of cyber attacks is to understand the potential threats and create a plan around avoiding them and preventing them from ever happening. So real estate transactions, they involve a lot of personal data, right? So, you know, in a lot of these transactions, when you're looking at a lot of this real estate paperwork, you're gonna have social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, you know, driver's license information, a lot of this information that could be highly at risk of, you know, basically being ripped off by someone. So you gotta make sure you're protecting your business, and that's not just from VAs, it's from staff, but then a lot of this information gets shared between other vendors, from a mortgage lender, a title agent. So any kind of misstep in a process could put your customer's information at risk. So, you know, while VAs might provide you with an excellent service, it is still essential to remember that they also have access to your personal information. So you want to make sure that you're careful what you share with them, and you know how much access they have to personal information. And again, that doesn't just go for a VA. That's any employee. You know, as you're building trust with them, you're not just going to open up everything and say, here you go. So that leads me into, how will my VA keep my data secure? So a lot of virtual assistants are data processors, right? They're getting hired into your organization to handle a lot of the back end tasks, you know, a lot of that data entry type stuff. So they're going to provide that support for your business. So that's going to involve them, you know, collecting, recording, storing, using, analyzing, you know, a lot of personal information. So, you know, for specific tasks and activities, you know, requested by you, the data shared is only used for that specific task. And this is where that agreement has to be between you and your VA. So they know, you know, if they're helping you with a task of making phone calls, sending out invoices, you know, things like that, it's going to require some type of access to that personal data. So if you have a VA who's going to be making phone calls on your behalf, they're obviously going to have access to your customer's information with their phone numbers. So now the VA, they know that information is only to be used for that particular task. It's no different if you hired an in-house ISA, right? So they're going to have access to those same things, but they know for that information is only supposed to be used for that task. So if you require your VA to store your data, the VA will follow the general data protection regulations, which basically regulates how they're able to store and maintain data. So if it's not necessary to store the data, the VA will responsibly dispose of it. And a lot of people ask, you know, is it safe to give passwords to my VA? There's going to come a time where your VA is going to need some kind of access to something in your business that requires a password. So let's say, for example, if you hire a VA to help with social media, they're going to need passwords to your social media accounts to be able to actually go in and create the posts and get all those posts shared. But now that social media manager, while they need access to that, they don't necessarily need access to your CRM system. So maybe they don't have your password to that, or they don't need access to your QuickBooks accounts. They're not managing it. Now, if you hire a VA to do bookkeeping, they're going to need access to your QuickBooks account but they're not going to do access to social media. So again, it's going to vary in terms of what passwords the VAs have access to. But then on top of that, you're not going to want to just give them your password, right? Because you don't want to just leave yourself at risk. It's still your business. You want to protect it. So there are password management tools that help you share those passwords without actually having to give your username and password. So there's things like LastPass, 1Password, Dashlane. There's a whole bunch of them. We use LastPass a lot within our business, to where I could go into LastPass, add whatever the website may be with the username and password, and I share it with my VA. So my VA just goes into that LastPass account, they hit launch, and it opens it up, that website already logged in. So they don't have to know the password or the username. So that's a way to share it, to keep yourself protected. And then if for any reason you stop working with that VA, or I even recommend you do this with an in-house employee, if you have an assistant in office, instead of just giving them your password to everything, have them use LastPass. So this way, if they stop working with you, you could just go into LastPass and unshare it, and then they no longer have access to that website. So you're not going to have to worry about changing every password to every website that you use for your business. So definitely, if you are going to share passwords, use a password manager. Another question we get is, should I come to a data processing agreement with my virtual assistant? So, what this is basically a way to keep your data safe. So you could develop, and we could assist with it, with a data processing agreement, which basically is the agreement that a binding agreement that you're going to have with your VA, that's going to ensure you're both doing what you're supposed to do with the data you're being given. So if you're looking for an extra level of security with a VA, you could create a confidentiality non-disclosure agreement. If there are concerns, if they are accessing private information that you don't want shared, you can always, create those types of agreements as well. And then moving on, how can you prevent cyber attacks from happening in your business? So again, and everything's going to be a risk. I mean, you see it all the time. You see even the largest companies, banks, things like that, where all of a sudden there's a data breach and passwords are stolen. So cyber attacks are always going to be a thing. And then there are ways that you can help prevent them, especially when working with a VA. So the risk of an attack on a VA is more significant if they're freelancers with no IT support or independent contractors placed through an agency. So there's some practices you should look for when hiring a VA. These VAs are going to have the keys to your kingdom, as long as that's with whatever access you give them to. So again, you're going to give them access to certain sites. They're going to have keys to it. So you want to make sure that you're doing things to prevent them from a potential attack on your business. So the first is performing background checks. So this is going to allow you to do the following. You're going to verify the information that they put on their resume, that it's correct and accurate. It's not fraud. They're not just making stuff up. It's going to reveal any criminal records, any history of illegal activities. It's going to help you gain a sense of trust and assurance, because you're going to see that, you're going to get that background info. It's going to identify any conflicts of interest, previous legal issues, potential risks. And it's going to help you safeguard your client's privacy by having these background checks. So with Leverage Virtual, this is things that we do to help you prevent those things from happening. We're going to do that vetting work. We're going to look into their past work experience, their background, their history. That's all stuff that we would do for you to help you to make sure you're getting a trusted VA into your business. Another way to prevent cyber attacks is by having confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements. So these are just things that are going to help protect and make sure your customers' data isn't being shared. So there are other ways. Password encryption is another way. So not just by using the password managers, but using those two-step verifications with passwords. Now, a lot of sites now, when you register on a website, it's going to ask for that two-step verification, where it may send a 6-digit code to your cell phone. So that's another thing you want to make sure you have in place. So if someone does get your password, they can't just log in from a different computer somewhere totally different, log in and get into your account, because they're going to need that verification code. So for example, one of them is Wise.com, which is how we pay a lot of our VAs. That's a two-step verification. So I do use a VA to go in and pay all my other VAs. So when Shaw goes in to issue those payments and she logs in, it's going to send the verification code to me. So that way I know she's doing it. And then I send the verification code back to her. she's able to put it in and then issue the payment to that VA. So there's no way she's able to go in there and issue payments that aren't meant to be paid because she needs that verification. So things like that are going to help protect you as well. So you're going to want to, if you aren't already using two-step verifications for websites, as you start to register on websites, start to add it. So if you register on a website and it says, do you want to add two-step verification? Always select yes. Sometimes it may be a little annoying for you personally if you go to log into a site and then you have to put the 6-digit code in, but it's going to help keep your data protected. Not even just from VAs that you may potentially work with, but if your password does get stolen, by someone, I've had stuff happen to me where my passwords have been at risk, but if I have two-step verification, they're not able to get into those sites because they don't have that 6-digit code. So start doing that. I highly recommend it. So hiring a VA could be huge for your business. The cybersecurity risk, we do try to manage on our end as much as we can to make sure it's not a threat to you. So they shouldn't really prevent you from making the decision that could completely change your business and really maximize your growth. Because again, these cybersecurity risks could happen anywhere, whether it's a VA, it's a remote employee. It could happen from a million different angles, not just from using VAs. So I certainly wouldn't let that be something that prevents you from really being able to take your business to where you want it to go. So if you do have questions, you want to talk more on this topic, certainly reach out. You can comment on this video. Go to leveragevirtual.com. You can book a strategy call to talk to us about the different ways we manage cybersecurity, and then if a VA is right for your business. So we could go over all that. If you have any questions or you have suggestions on things, other videos we should do, definitely just let us know. In the meantime, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll just keep putting more of this content out for you. All right, thanks a lot. Hope you all have a great day.